Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. We are here with Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, I weren't in Saudi Arabia, but it looked to be one hell of a week. How's things, just sort of reflecting on what was an incredible night of boxing?
Well, I did have about 12 hours sleep when I got back yesterday afternoon. That was Sunday afternoon. Got on a flight with probably about 100 other people from the promotion, almost all of whom had no sleep at all. I mean, I think the event finished about 4 from memory. And then there'd have been the press conference. Oh, it was so late. I just remember being at the airport, writing pieces till about half an hour before I got on the plane. And then literally seeing almost everyone from the promotion, including that brilliant video of Frank Warren sitting with it on the 5-hour delay, doing a high five with Eddie Hearn in row 5, blah, blah, blah. And I thought Eddie was a brilliant sport, to be honest, after what happened. I'd like to think Frank would have been the same the other way around, but it was a really, really good week. But I'd like to roll it. It's almost 3 weeks for me, because I did Fury Usyk, then I went Abu Dhabi for Rising Stars Arabia, and then this. So it's 3 weeks that'll never be forgotten. And I think it was a really successful event on Saturday night.
100%, a great concept. There was that competitive nature between the promoters, but like you said, it was done in good spirits. I know they both wanted to win, but even the fights, even though it was a whitewash and Team Warren have won, when you look at the fights, particularly a Nick Ball, Ray Ford, a Hamzah Sheeraz, Amo Williams, when you look at these fights, the losers in these fights, the stock doesn't drop because they were such good fights. So just talk to me a little bit about that and what impressed you most sort of with that fight card.
Well, I'll go through them. I mean, and also, by the way, you mentioned both promoters there. And what I really liked about them was there was a very strong rivalry all the way through, but there was a real cooperation and a double promoting of everything. We saw the best of both men, both promoters in every single way. I've never seen Frank cajole his fighters as much, slap them on the back and get people up on stage. And I really felt his youthfulness in it. And it reminded me of him, you know, many years ago when I'm not saying he hasn't got something about him now, but he's a very kind of cultured gentleman now in lots of ways. And as you know, he's very bespoke, Frank. But it just reminded me of kind of what George is like and Francis are like now, that little edge to them. And Frank had that edge about him all week. And, you know, Frank's a tough guy, you know, and he can come up against tough circumstances and look after himself. And it reminded me about that of Frank. And I think the promoting they did together genuinely was fascinating. And during the week, Matt, I was very close to 3 Warrens, a Hearn, and a Smith, sitting at the media lunch where they really were within 10 feet of each other. Francis, Frank, George, Eddie, and Frank Smith. And they really were talking about the future and bits and pieces and chatting amongst themselves about making fights. And I thought it was phenomenal. So all of that added to what was a phenomenal week. I mean, you haven't mentioned Willy Hutchinson and Craig Richards. I picked Willy Hutchinson. I really rate him. I've always really rated him. And I thought, because Craig is so long and strong and can handle himself so well in the ring, he barely gets out of second or third gear for me. And if he had another gear, which I think he's got, just needs to find it, I think he could have given Hutchinson a lot more problems. Hutchinson switched very well. He's a very skillful boxer. I know that about him. He's an unusual character. If he said the things he said in the build-up, then he shouldn't. I didn't actually hear them myself, but I did speak to Craig on a Queensbury broadcast, and he was very unhappy about it. Colour and race should not come into smack talk, in my view. I don't like it. But Hutchinson was fantastic, and I think he's a great matchup, as they're already pushing for that I think it's the WBO against Joshua Buatsi.
Yeah, I believe that's already been
That's
So,
Frank. That's
yeah.
Frank being a great promoter. I'll let you get a question in here, but I'm happy to talk about all the other
No, no,
fights.
I think we're on the same wavelength. I mean, Willy Hutchinson, a lot of people were telling me away from the camera, look, they really fancy him. We had that, he was derailed only once in his career so far, but he's moved up into the weight and he's a terrific boxer. I heard a lot about that.
Yes.
And then when you look moving up the cards from there, you look at the Nick Ball fight. Nick finally gets his hands on a world title. Probably should have been coming into the fight with one anyway, if we're all being honest. A lot of people had him winning against Ray Vargas and Ray Ford now, I think he's even said, look, it's been a pleasure at this weight. I'm going to move up a weight. But two terrific fighting men and a good fight for the card.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, full disclosure, I picked Willy Hutchinson, Ray Ford, Hamzah Sheeraz, Filip Hrgovic, and Zhilei Zhang. So, so going through it, I thought Ray Ford may give Nick Ball problems as he came in. But Ray couldn't keep Nick off. He couldn't keep him off. He out hustled him. He out harried him. He battled through the tough times. I spoke to Nick 10 minutes after his fight on the Talk Sport broadcast, and he said, "I'd go another 15 rounds. I could fight next week." Because I said, "Well, you want to be on the September card?" He's a phenomenal character. He's such a powerful lighter fighter. His dad was there with him. He brought plenty of Scouse support. He's a terrific professional. I think he'll only ever fight that way. I think he's got 3 good years in him. I hope he earns a ton of money, and I hope he becomes the undisputed champion in the division. He beat one of the best guys in the division. Ford is phenomenal, I think. He beat one of the best guys in the division in Ray Vargas by 2 clear rounds for me back in, what was it, Knockout Chaos in March. I think it was. You were there, weren't you?
It was.
Where were you last week?
Well, that was sadly wasn't down to me, but Lewis was there in my stead.
Oh, Lewis. Yeah, Lewis. No, didn't even do a single interview with him, I don't think. But
no, you would talk about, weren't you?
I was consigned. I was consigned with my colleagues from Talksport for the week. No, brilliant performance, because it got closer towards the end, and he never let up. He clearly went through some pain, and his nose looked broken. He was bloodied at one point. He's a brilliant fighter, Nick Ball. And I praise Frank Warren again for. He's one of those guys that Frank completely got behind, like he did Hutchinson. He needs to put Hutchinson in line sometimes. Frank does, but it's a bit like when Frank backs his fighters, but he's brilliant at doing that. And I thought Nick Ball should be a unified champion right now, Matt.
You make a good point there, and a lot of people have said that in sort of the aftermath about Frank, how he's managed his fighters, how he looks after them. You look at
he always has, by the way. He always has.
You look at a man like Hamzah Sheeraz, who everyone keeps talking about, difficult spells against Bradley Skeet, etc. In the aftermath of that, dusted himself off, kept backing his man, and he's now just beaten a very, very good fighter on the world stage again in Amo Williams, who'll come again, by the way. And it's just one of them things at that level. He's a winner and a loser, and it was Hamzah's night. What did you make of his performance? Seems to be getting better and better.
Yeah, Amo was one of the hits of the week, by the way, with all the media. He's an extraordinary character.
Good
He's
guy.
so lovable. Honestly, I mean, I sat down in the auditorium with him on the Monday, and it was like it was the old Best Pals act. He was fantastic to talk to. He's an extraordinary human being. I love the fact he holds his heart on his sleeve. He has that ability to endear himself to you. Again, Hamzah was hurt in the second by those left hands that were coming from angles. He went through some things there which we haven't seen before. Very pleased for him in that way. Came on strong, and he chopped Amo down round after that, and really worked his way in. And that high guard that he has, when he opens up, he's got brilliant uppercuts, brilliant body shots, and he broke Amo down. And it was, what was it, 11th round stoppage, I think, was it? Yeah, it was merciful in the end. because I think Ammo would have gone to the end, but he was very, very hurt. But he'll come again. So brilliant performance by Sheeraz. And I understand he may fight against Chris Eubank Jr. at Wembley. They're sitting around a table trying to get it finalised at the moment. And I think it's a terrific fight for him. Rather than fight for a world title right now, I'd rather see him fight a name, because he's not one of those guys that sells himself, Matt. Yep. But fighting a Eubank will sell him. Yeah. Because it will bring eyeballs. It's the right move if they can make it happen at the moment, in my view.
100%. And a guy like Chris Eubank, who is that name as well, like you mentioned there, with the guys that don't speak and haven't got the Ammo Williams side to him, I will say, because he's very articulate, Ammo, but obviously Hamzah does his talking in the ring a lot of the time, and it'll serve him well anyway. He's a terrific fighter. Daniel Dubois, look, a lot of people were siding in the build-up to this with Filip Hrgovic, who we were speaking to, but Daniel, after I think the first couple of rounds, once he got to grips with it, he's a menacing puncher, and that cut above Hrgovic's eye was when you look at it. And yeah, he rolls on now, and he's sort of stuck with it after the question marks over him, and he's in a terrific position now. And Frank Warren, I believe, has confirmed that talks are underway for Joshua Dubois. I know that was always the plan, but to happen at Wembley.
Well, it wasn't necessarily, because about
Wilder, I think, was it Wilder the plan? Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh was up there in the ring, like the great emperor of fight sports that he is at the moment, kind of almost teasing the fact that if Deontay Wilder performed brilliantly, we might get a Wilder Joshua fight. And I think that's great, but it's down to the fact that all these things are possible at the moment. So I thought I'd picked Hrgovic. I didn't think it'd be as loose, a brutal bludgeoning match as it was from the opening bell. Both men with their hands almost down here, believing that they could chop the other one down like an old oak tree. It was an incredible fight to watch. It was, you know, it looked like it looked at the end. Hrgovic looked like he'd been hit by cleavers across the eyes. They were almost like bits of flesh were hanging down. It was almost like a zombie movie at the end. You know, thank God I was on a dais a little way away with a big screen reporting for TalkSport at the time, instead of my plush VIP seat where I was earlier on in the night. I'm waxing lyrical here. Yeah, stop looking at me like that. You know, I like to move around the arena during the night. But it was a brilliant fight. And we saw the two things that Daniel had learned from his last two fights: to take his chance when he had it against Usyk, and to come through a difficult period in that 6th and 7th round, which he did against Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Yeah. And you could see both those things. I've never called him a quitter, nor would I. I do not like calling fighters a quitter anyway. I think it's an old, outdated term for live to fight another day, which is what I believe he did. And he did it so well. He had that moment. He beat Joe Joyce now, I believe. You know, I think he would beat him. I'd love to see it again, to be honest. I'd love to see him in against Zhang. I'd love to see him in against Alexander Usyk again. I don't think all these fights will happen. But I think he thoroughly deserves a fight with Anthony Joshua in September if they think if they can make it happen. And he's dangerous as well. He's dangerous.
I was just about to say, like, if we'd have been talking about this fight a few fights back, it'd have been, don't get me wrong, any fight, I think, with Anthony Joshua involved, it has the hype around it from what he's done, his legacy, what he's done in the sport. But now you've got a guy like Daniel Dubois, who's been through the hardships, who's come out the other end, and he's got that interim title looking there going, I'm ready to go here. You give me that opportunity. And if he catches AJ flush, obviously, like AJ catches him flush, he could be, you know, heavyweight champion of the world officially, then bounce on into a huge fight after that again.
He's 26.
It's mad.
He's 26. You know, and young Moses Atauma was out there. He's 19.
Yeah, that's frightening.
He's 19 years old. You know, I mean, Daniel is still only 26. He was always going to develop. It was always going to take time. I think mentally he's getting that man strength now. And we know he's a big, bruising heavyweight. And Hrgovic is a giant human being as well, by the way, very much in proportion. You don't realise Hrgovic will come again as well. You don't realise till you're next to Hrgovic quite how big he is. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I've had that experience. Saw him in the airport on the way back once, and
you know, and you come up to his shoulders, don't you? I mean, he's a giant man. He'll be very disappointed. I really rate him. He needs another win to get back in the mix. Yeah. You know, maybe he fights Zhang again. I don't know. But I mean, look at I think they had 10 rounds together, didn't they? I think it was 10.
Yeah.
On the undercard of Fury of Joshua and Usyk too. No, yeah, I think it was number 2. It was. Yeah. I should remember. I was there. So Dubois for me marches on. There's so many good things about him. He'll be a danger for Joshua, but that's wow, it's a thriller. And it's worthy of a main event with 110,000 people at Wembley and a stacked undercard. And as His Excellency said, I want to break all the records at Wembley. They're into breaking records. Good on them.
Especially now that we're not just seeing, you know, when we go to fights and we see the main event. Now we're not just seeing that. Now we're seeing main event with, I cannot wait to see the first fight, second fight, third fight, fourth fight, fifth fight. Everybody's looking forward to the whole card. I mean, we'd have seen half of them fights, well, at least a few of them, maybe main event in some shows anyway.
Every fight was the main event. And I think it'll be like that on the Wembley card. Chris Eubank, Hamzah, Sheeraz, come on. That would just sell out the O2 on its own.
Yeah.
And what Hamzah's doing very skillfully is doing what Amir Khan did and joining that kind of big family, the global family, the Pakistan connection and all of those things, you know. And I'm really looking forward to documenting his career as well as it develops.
Right, the last one on the card. We'll talk about Bivol after, but I want to talk about Deontay Wilder. Zhilei Zhang. This guy is fast becoming one of my favourite fighters. Just his personality throughout the week cracks me up, and as well as his fighting ability. But a lovely guy to speak to. I've interviewed him on many occasions, and he delivered a stunning knockout against Deontay Wilder. I've seen Lennox Lewis's comments today saying Wilder talked about retirement pre-fight, thinks he should follow through with it. He's had a terrific career. He got into it to provide for his daughter and his family. He's more than done that, and he's in the history books. What do you make of the fight and, you know, Deontay Wilder and what happens from here?
I think it was not a good sight for me watching Deontay live. Walked into the corners, hunted and haunted for me, a shell of what he was. That aura of the bronze bomber wasn't there for me. And when he did detonate, he got badly caught in the 5th round. He couldn't pull the trigger. All signs, don't like using the word shot either, but all signs that the age, as Father Time has caught up with Deontay. He wants to, but maybe it's not there anymore. I wouldn't be disappointed in the least if that was his last fight. If he wants to have one more against someone to finish with a pot of glory, in America or wherever it is, I think he needs to be more greatly recognised in America than he was.
Yeah.
I think those 30 rounds against Tyson Fury took an awful lot out of him. Even the first one. Those 12 rounds against Parker will have taken a lot out of him. He's lost 4 of his last 5 now. Zhang was like a wildebeest chasing him for that second right hook. Yeah. And there was that camera angle where he's galloping after him across the ring. I mean, it was only 4 paces, but it was like Zhang 20 stone on horseback, coming to finish him with a boom around the corner. And it was a very viral moment. I'm so pleased that was the end of the fight and that Deontay wasn't allowed to go on, frankly. I loved the movement by the referee. When Deontay was still fighting, about to fight, he said, no, it's off. It was so merciful. He's been amazing to be around. I had a fantastic interview with Deontay on the Monday. The bomb squad shall live on forever. I do think he hasn't got enough recognition, as I say, in America. I think he should have come to the UK and fought here for the last 2 or 3 years, because he's like a rock star whenever he walks down the road here. I remember when he came into Talk Sport, Matt, and everybody was out of their desks to meet Deontay. The whole hall was crowded. I remember having a little wink with him and going, "This isn't too bad, is it?" And he could have had that in the UK, something which he didn't get on the crowded American sports and entertainment landscape. Got a lot of time for him, but I don't want to see him get beaten up anymore, frankly.
No, I'm with you on that. And Zhilei Zhang marches on. 3 minutes. Right. Last one from me. Let's just quickly finish with this.
And Zhilei Zhang does march on. You can match him with anyone. He could fight Anthony Joshua at Wembley. He could fight Tyson Fury next. He could fight Usyk. You can put him in with anyone. Great character, completely off the wall, and so funny. And he's got a screw loose, and I love that about him. And I love speaking Chinese to him this week. They got misinterpreted, by the way. So, but yeah,
just get him involved. Last one from me. Dmitry Bivol did what I suppose he was expected to do, but just good to see him out and not, I suppose, take someone to the distance and really sort of say, "No, I'm going to get you out of here. This is my ring," kind of thing, and sets it up nicely for October.
He's a classical, clinical, efficient fighter. Yes, of course, Zinad was suitable to him, but
what a fight!
What a fighter! And you know what? It swung it back for me that I just thought if he boxes cleverly against Beterbiev, I favoured Beterbiev before that, but I just think he might be able to outbox him. And I'll tell you another thing. Jai Opetaia is much too big for Artur Beterbiev. I've been around Jai quite a lot this week. He's too big. He's David Haye size. He'd flatten any light heavyweight out there. He'd flatten them.
You reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. That guy's going up to cruiser, then heavy. And Lawrence Coley told me he wants Jai as well. Wants to fight with Jai at Bridger.
I'm down for that fight. Let's see that happen.
Bridger then heavy. Both of those guys.
Well, look, I appreciate you jumping on. I know you've got other commitments, so I ain't going to keep you because I know we could talk for hours on NDA. But Gareth, thank you as always, giving Boxing Social and myself some of your time. We'll catch up soon.
Have we not been talking for hours? It feels like hours, Matt.
Don't know why. Conversation's been flowing at my end. But...
No, I'm kidding. It felt like 2 minutes. It genuinely felt like 2. I missed you in Riyadh.
Right. I'm gutted I weren't there. But
it was one of the great nights again. We are going to look back in 25 years as this is our own Rumble in Riyadh.
Yeah.
The Fury and Usyk, then this 2 weeks later, like a Ryder Cup event for boxing. It's just extraordinary. I'm so privileged and honoured to have been at both. And that's how I feel.
Grateful times. It really is.
Yeah.
Look, I'll let you bounce. Appreciate it. Let's catch up soon.
Peace out. Peace out.